I think people just do business with people who do what they say they're going to do and are honest and have integrity. And if you just do that, you're going to earn exponentially more trust than by tricking them into liking you for a short period of time.
Hello and welcome to the Vigilante Leverage Show. I'm Matthew Bergvinson.
And I am Lucas Ung.
And Lucas, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about salespeople and the myth, in my opinion, of the gift of gab and like a silver tongue salesperson. But first, something exciting. I just got an email. I got an invitation to be one of the experts on the intro.co platform. Yeah, I actually completely forgot what they are and what they do, because I feel like I get a lot of these things pretty frequently.
Yeah.
But it was just top of inbox when we hit record, so I thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, I remember you filled out the form for that like a while ago. That was a sort of a lengthy turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, have no idea. It's probably
Yeah.
like, I don't know, there's probably a lot of things like that, but kind of cool. I'll look
Well,
into it
every
and I'll
week
let you know.
seems like a month right now, and that was probably like 4 weeks ago, so it feels like 4 months ago.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But in any case, yeah, in my opinion, the myth of the gift of gab for salespeople and why it really doesn't matter how much of a silver tongue you have when it comes to sales. That's our topic for today.
Yeah.
What are
No,
your thoughts on this?
man, I mean, the moment you say that, like the very first thought I have was like my first sales job ever selling used cars because you got to start somewhere. Yeah, there was somebody who definitely had the gift of the gab, but all it ended up doing was misaligning customer expectations, and as a result, even though they got a lot of initial volume, there were so many things that went out the door that were sketchy, and it all blew back on the dealership. So that's when you say that, that's the very first thing that comes to mind. It's like that one of those early memories that I have starting a career in sales,
In like a car
and how that
dealership,
really didn't work out.
is it the case in a car dealership where they don't really care about that, or do they care about that?
They care about it when people misrepresent the financing and send a vehicle
Hmm.
out the door that shouldn't have cleared, and then the bank has to make some very awkward calls, and the dealership has to make some even more awkward calls.
So I leased a car 3 years ago, just turned it in, finally. Now I'm not gonna say leasing cars is like the worst thing you can do, but it was the worst
Yeah.
thing I could have done at the time. Like I
Well, you
was
had to
paying
do it
like,
like quick, fast, and in a hurry.
yeah, so
Yeah,
the story
because
behind that
I
was,
I love this story. Yeah, tell the story.
okay. So the story this is actually pretty crazy. I'll just start from the beginning. So it was December 2019, and I was actually driving back from like a holiday party where I was doing some networking in sort of like one of the local chambers of commerce or something like that. And I was on the phone with one of my colleagues, and we were talking about how we made a bunch of new relationships. There was some interesting deals on the table. There were some interesting collaborations and partnerships. And I'm on speakerphone and just driving down the freeway, and all of a sudden I see a giant jet of flame shoot out the left side of the hood, and I'm like, okay, that wasn't just me. That flame actually happened. And so I'm on speakerphone. The guy's talking. I'm like, shut up. Car's on fire. Gotta go. I hang up on him. And then like I check the rear view mirror, the side mirrors, look behind me, and like I see more flames coming out. I'm like, this is not good. This is not going to end well for anybody. So basically, there's nobody to my right. I swerve onto the shoulder of the highway. I slam the brakes, and car's not at a complete stop yet. But I basically hit it into park, and the car is like basically like jutting to a stop as fast as it can because I slammed it into park while it was going like 60 while I'm hitting the brakes. And then I opened the door, kicked it open. I think I grabbed, did I grab? Yeah, I grabbed my phone and I dive rolled out of the car. And 2 seconds later, car just blows up. The entire front half of the car just explodes, and the tires catch fire. Like everything catches fire. It was absolutely insane. And then I just start walking away, and I don't even look behind me because it like is terrifying. I don't want to look at what I was just almost a part of. And
So
then
you're just
there's a guy
walking away
behind
from the
me.
explosion.
Yeah, didn't look back. I like
Bruce Willis
and
style.
there was a fire. There's an off-duty firefighter that had pulled up behind my car, and he's just like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I mean, physically, yeah." And he's just like, "Hey, listen, no one's gonna believe you, but that kind of look like an action scene from Die Hard or something. I saw you roll out of the car. I saw the explosion happen as you were walking away without looking backwards." He was like, "There's no way anyone's gonna believe this story." And I'm like, "You're right. I'm telling it right now in front of people, and like no one's gonna believe this story." And then the worst part of this all, well, the best part first is that people came by to like try and help out because there's literally a car on fire on the freeway. People are gonna stop. And then a bunch of people
Right.
get out of the car, they start going next to the car, and they're like, get out of there. And I'm like, there's no one in there. You're only endangering yourself. And people are like starting to try to figure out how to get into the car to get these imaginary people out. I'm like, there's no one in there, guys. The off-duty firefighter was just like, yeah, I'm actually on my way to work right now. And yeah, this happens all the time where people are doing stupid stuff next to accidents. Yeah, eventually the police came, firefighters came, tow truck came, they handled it. I got a ride to the nearest Starbucks. My wife picked me up, all that stuff. But yeah, if you find the right news clip, someone actually took a video of it. And so you can see someone's pedestrian view where they had recorded my car on fire for like 12 seconds as they were driving down the highway. You have to search very specific terms to find it, but it's out there.
Yeah, I still love that story. And then, yeah. Well,
Yeah, but
did
but
somebody like
anyway,
recognize you on the news anyway? Anyway, yeah.
yeah, but
Anyway,
but
going
basically,
on.
but
Anyway, back to
basically,
car leases and stuff like that. I just
the,
wanted to, I
the
never get tired of hearing that story, and it's been a while.
the segue from that to car lease was the CEO of the company I was working at the time was just like, "Oh, your car blew up. I'm glad you're alive." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. You don't care." But then he's just like, "Let me hook you up." And so he told me, "Go to this dude at this dealership. He'll hook you up. He's got great rates." And I called him, and I'm like, "Okay, cool." Told me $150 a month to lease a car, brand new. It was a Toyota 2020 Toyota Corolla. I was like, that's awesome. $150 a month, great. And he's like, oh, there's insurance and stuff. And I'm like, well, I have insurance. I'm like, okay, cool. So the CEO drives me over to this dealership, drops me off, drives away. I have no ride back. Walk into the dealership, $150, sure enough. And then some insurance costs, some maintenance costs, some upcharge, surcharge shit. I'm just like, drop everything. Give me bare bones. He's like, okay, okay, okay. That'll be $370 a month.
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, I was like, no way, I don't want to do that at all. He's just like, let me go talk with my manager. Classic move. Goes and talks to his manager. He's just like, it's the best we can do. And I'm like, well, is there anything cheaper? And he's just like, no, this is the cheapest car we have. So I'm sitting there at the dealership, 40 minutes away from where I need to be, about an hour away from my wife and my home. The only option I have is to lease a car or take an Uber back. And I'm like, well, I'm already here. Lowest friction thing to do is just get their cheapest car. And that's the story of how I paid for $380 a month for 3 years for this lease that I didn't even want.
Yeah.
Not happy.
That was a rough deal.
Yeah, I'm not going back to that dealership. For me, they've lost their reputation to me. That CEO also lost his reputation in my eyes as well. And this salesperson, he was saying a lot of the right things, but it didn't materialize in the right thing. And I think a lot of people would say that he had the gift of gab, but man, did that really just paint the worst picture for me for this dealership and this person.
Yeah. When people are just blabbing and talking about something they can't deliver. I mean, what, 150 to 370, that's what, 150% over.
Yeah.
So 250% total of original promise value. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's a rough one.
In your experience, when you talk with either vendors or partners or like employees, I don't know how like what's your opinion on like people who are like smooth talkers, Jordan Belfort style?
I think some of them use intonation and language patterns and things like that, and they really use them, and they're coming from a place of really wanting to inspire transformation in the prospect, or really get something important across to the vendor or something like that. Like sometimes it really matters a lot less what you're doing, and it's more about why you're doing it, when the attention is your whole motivation for doing the deal.
Mm-hmm.
If you're using those principles ethically or unethically. So I feel like a lot of the times people will get lumped into like, oh, he's such a smooth talker. And it's like, well, yeah, but he's actually trying to do some really good stuff. And then, but I would say that most of the time, and I don't know why this is, I'm just starting to think about it now. Like most of the time when people, really talk smoothly, it puts up a lot of like sales resistance, or like something seems off here, right? And I don't know if it's just because I've been conditioned to look out for that kind of stuff in those environments specifically. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's about why you're doing things and whether you actually have the customer's best interests at heart. But I've seen a lot of it go the other way. And I've been encouraged to do it at certain sales organizations, and those are the ones that hey, you've probably had. We won't name the companies here, but you probably had one of those jobs too at one point where you finish the workday and you just have this gnawing feeling like you did great in sales and commissions, and that you just had to make some calls that we're definitely not in the customer's best interest. Those are the
Yeah.
sales jobs that I don't last more than like 2 weeks at.
Yeah, I think anyone who's worked in sales has worked in those jobs before, but there's a reason that those types of jobs have such high turnover and high churn because those
Yeah.
people can't sustain it, both economically but also mentally.
Hmm.
It's really funny. Whenever we talk to, like, I remember in my early days in sales, I remember idolizing people who sold on the same principles and like psychological frameworks of like the Wolf of Wall Street type things. And you
Yeah.
sit around and you try to optimize NLP. You sit around and you try to optimize exactly how you're going to pause and how long you pause. You optimize all these things, and you're like reading body language, and you're like, ooh, I know exactly what this person's thinking or doing, and then you're just like, no, I can definitely tell that they're lying here. But here's a fun stat. Barely over 50% of people, if you're an expert at being able to tell if someone's lying, you can barely tell a lie over 50% of the time if you're a so-called expert. So, like, if you
What do you
really
mean by
look,
expert?
if you are like, if you are like working for the CIA and you are an expert interrogator, like your success rate of determining a lie is barely above 50%. It's not 60%. So
So if you're really, really allegedly trained on this thing,
then you're barely better than a coin flip. And
wow.
so I'm to be honest, I think that a lot of that's true when you talk about like people who are just like, I'm a master in NLP, and I'm like, okay, sure, maybe there are like 3 people in the world that are like that, but it is not likely the case that unless you are literally doing that to every single person and practicing it for 12 hours a day, and you've done it for 10 years, you're probably not going to get there. And from a sales context, you're probably not going to get there either, where you're selling over Zoom or you're meeting someone for the first time. And so, like, people are like, I need to optimize this so I can convert my deals better. And I'm like, how about you just focus on doing the work and then doing more of it?
Yeah, what
It,
if you
you
had a
you can
better product? You might
yeah,
sell more things.
what if you had a better product? What if you talk to more people? Okay, so let's say that you are one of those excellent people. You can tell a lie now 60% of the time because you're the best in the world at this. And so you've spent 8 hours a day mastering this craft for a year. Cool. Well, what if you had spent 8 hours a day for a year talking to twice as many people? So now you go from, let's say you're converting at a 40% rate. So, okay, let's say you talk to 100 people in a year. You're converting at a 40% rate. You're converting 40 people. Okay, cool. Now you talk to 200 people at a 40% rate. You've
Mhm.
now converted 80 people. Or you talk to those same 100 people, and instead of converting at a 40% rate, you convert up to a 60% rate. Now you're at 60%. So you've converted 60 people instead of 80. So as long as you're like good enough, you can just get out there and talk to people, and like you can be more successful like that. And also you get better just by talking to people and getting the reps in,
Yeah.
versus like if you sit around studying videos, practicing in front of a mirror, watching videos about Jordan Belfort, and how he sells and pickup artists and how they use NLP, like that's really cool. Great party topics if you want to be insufferable, or you could just do the work and make more
Yeah.
money. I don't know. That's why
Yeah.
I'm like gift of
I
gab.
think it's,
I don't know, man.
I mean, 80/20 stuff applies here too, right? I think that there's definitely some people with bad tonality, just don't have any confidence, any certainty.
Hmm.
Um, and, just by working on that a little bit, they can really increase their conversion rate. But like you said, once you're good enough, like try actually helping people. That tends to work pretty
Yeah.
well. Try providing phenomenal customer service so that people are like, oh man, I had the most amazing experience. And they'll go out and talk about how wonderful
Yeah.
XYZ person was. Um, I
At the end
mean,
of the day,
yeah,
I think people just do business with people who do what they say they're going to do and are honest and have integrity. And if you just do that, you're gonna earn exponentially more trust than by tricking them into liking you for a short period of time.
yeah. Whenever people are like, oh, I got to build instant rapport, and I'm like, what?
Like,
No. Um,
sure, but
Actually,
like,
what's your thought on like the whole like, oh, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. What's your opinion on like the know, like, trust factor? Because I think it's actually like pretty overblown.
I think
And
it's
I'll get to that in a
overblown, but for
second.
a
I want
different
to hear you
reason.
first.
No, no, no. I think it's overblown, but for a different reason. People they know, they like, and they trust. Well, how you get to know someone, you work with them. How you get to like somebody, well, you usually, in a business context, it's just that you don't hate them and they make doing business easy. And how do you trust them? They follow through with what they say they're going to do. So as long as you work with them, you tell the truth, and you follow through with what you say you're going to do, they're going to know, like, and trust you. So I think people are just like, talk about sports, mention something in their office, and yeah, sure, that can work for very, very, very quick, like first impressions, and gives you like a common ground. But past common ground, you don't need to sit around and talk about their kids every single time. Like, sure, bring it up, but you know what they'd rather do? They'd rather get the deal done. Because if they wanted to talk about their kids with you, they would be talking about it with their actual friends. They don't want to talk about that with you. It comes up, but they want to get to the business. So
Yeah.
get to the business, tell the truth, and deliver on time. And then they will know, like, and trust you exponentially more than if you talked about their kids all day.
Yeah. I mean, going back to, get down to the business. So I actually think that the like bit isn't that important. Like, if I can really help you solve a problem that's a glaring need, you know that I'm really, really good at it, and you trust that I can deliver the solution. I don't really need to like you to, to transact a deal with you and have it work out really well for both sides.
So here's an interesting thought experiment. I think I got this from Keenan from Gap Selling. I can't remember. There's so many people that I've like read things from over the years. But there's one that's just like, okay, Matthew, we're mortal enemies. We are mortal enemies. You hate my guts and you want to kill me and everybody in my family and my cats and any future children.
Not the cats.
Not the cats. Yeah,
All right.
no, Uni's taking a nap downstairs.
Okay. Well, anyway, so back to Keenan and
yeah. So we're mortal enemies.
Yeah, mortal enemies. I want to kill you, your family, your cats.
Yeah. So hypothetically, if I had a Lamborghini for sale for $1 million, would you buy it at $1 million? You hate me, you hate my guts, and I'm going to sell you a Lamborghini for $1 million. You want to buy it?
Do the doors go up?
So the doors sure go up.
Okay, then still no.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how about 500,000?
Nope.
300?
Nope.
200?
Well, now I can flip it.
But you hate my guts. You still want it?
Probably not yet.
Yeah. What if I gave it to you for $100? Would you take it? You hate my guts. You want to kill my family.
Hell yeah.
Okay, but that kind of goes to a point. As long as the value is there at a certain stage, no matter who you are, you're gonna make the purchase if it makes sense for you to do so, regardless. And maybe the price is a little bit higher, but let's say that we're best friends as we are, and let's say I want to sell you a Lamborghini for $10 million. Are you gonna take it?
Nope.
Yeah, but and you like me and you trust me.
Price ain't right, man. It's all
Yeah,
about the value.
Yeah, so Matthew's gonna smile and shake my hand as he says no. But this is that's just the business. That's how it is.
Actually, when you say smile and shake your hand, as they say no, that spurs a memory. I think that is a Keenan example, but I mean it's a brilliant one. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the example quite a lot because I mean, like, there's a value point. Like, whether they trust, like, and know you, it matters. But what matters more is the value that you're bringing them. And does it make sense financially? I think that's the most important thing.
Yep.
That's why I'm like, okay, know, like, and trust, sure, but it matters only so much. So you can optimize these things by fractions of a percentage, or 80-20 rule it. You can just try to provide more value. And then instead of having to sell someone a $10 million Lamborghini, you could just sell them a reasonably priced Lamborghini that's fair to them and fair to you. And then they like you, trust you, know you a little bit, but you're also providing a lot of value. So they're like, yeah, we can do this deal.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Just makes sense to me.
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about that. I mean, because I like where our product offerings are at right now, but I'm just what's keeping me up at night lately is like, how do you make it better though?
How do you make it better? I mean,
it's just
we're getting to that point.
Right. I mean, it's good. It's just, I just always want it to be better. Just obsessed with it. So,
I mean, we always do. I mean, it's at 90%, right? We take it from 90 to 91, 92, 93. No one gets to 100 ever. So that's just the way it goes. I don't know that my long-winded opinion on like the gift of gab for salespeople is like cool, but is that the most important place you can be spending your time? Is that, like, in some cases, like you said, maybe you do need to brush up on it a little bit, but like when you're good enough, like just be good enough and just do it more.
Yeah, volume cures a lot of ills.
Yeah, I agree completely. Yeah, got to fill the top of funnel.
Yeah. Oh, I'm like the best in the world at talking to people, but I talk to 0.3 people per week, and I'm only getting a deal a month.
No, I mean,
well, also,
I feel like that's
also just like practice and reps too, right? Like we don't have to continue to whip the moribund horse, but I think we're on the same page about that one.
Yeah. Do you think that there's any situations where, like, yes, the gift of gab matters so much? It matters so much that if you don't have it, I'm not going to hire this person, or you shouldn't work in this field.
Maybe PR.
Oh, that's funny.
Like, where you're just trying to spin it to, oh dear God, please let's not talk about this. Let's talk about anything else. Oh, look, birds. Um, yeah. I mean, if you're really just trying to divert attention, right? And these are things that are like very useful in that field, but not
Yeah,
necessarily what you want to be doing with sales. So,
I agree
if
completely.
you're in, like a PR role, if you are in a role where your job revolves around, I don't know, shall we say, like social lubrication of sorts, in terms of like, hosting networking events and making sure that, communication feels slowly and making sure that different people feel at home in different contexts and you can have everybody have a nice time. If your job is about, I don't want this to come out the wrong way, but like creating value through fluff, because if you do fluff right, there actually is value in it.
Right.
And if it's a create value through fluff kind of job, then I think it's a very useful skill set.
Yeah.
I just think
I
if you're
think
trying to sell real tangible products and services, better things to focus on.
I just would feel unethical about just sitting around and fluffing something up. Like I've been told that I'm a decent speaker. At least I certainly hope so, given my chosen profession. But when I think about where I would feel ethical in doing that sort of thing is a different question than where I can do that thing. And for me, feeling ethical about it, I wouldn't feel ethical saying anything that I didn't believe to be 100% true. But if there was any circumstance where I would basically sit around and pronounce all of the benefits and ignore the shortcomings, or rather minimize the shortcomings, I'd probably do it in those situations where there's no possible future where I'm going to hold a relationship with this person personally or professionally ever again. I'm going to sell this person a stapler and they're going to leave. To some extent, maybe even selling a house or a car. But again, it could blow back on the dealership. But well, in those very commoditized things where essentially all you have is just the features of the product and then the downsides of the product, like, and it's just a one-time transactional thing, I feel like I'd be okay doing it there. But even then, I'd be, for me, ethically, I'd be treading in some gray area.
Well, and I think that if you ever think about your business as being based on one-time transactional work, you've already lost the game.
Yeah, yeah. Timeshares, anyone? Sorry, did I just call someone out here? I don't know.
um,
I have a friend who used to sell timeshares. He described it in a very interesting way. Their
I have a
culture.
friend who has a thriving practice getting people out of their timeshares that they shouldn't have been into through the Consumer Protection Act.
That is an attorney. Sounds like a
Yeah,
great business.
yeah. It's sort of a tragic business, but
Yeah,
he sees the opportunity and he helps a lot of people.
I
Um,
mean, if there's money there, you might as well go there as an attorney. I get it. You got your
yeah.
billables. Let's see. I don't know. What else on this topic do we have, or is that kind of it?
I think that's kind of it. It's something that I've been thinking about, a fair bit in fits and spurts over the last 10 years. And there we go. That's my thoughts on it. Because there was a time where I really optimized for that kind of selling, and I read as much as I could about it. And then I realized, like, well, what if you try actually helping people? Apparently that works pretty good.
Try helping people,
Yeah.
and the rest just kind of flows. And then if you have enough conviction in that, you'll want to go call and talk to more people to help more people. Go figure.
Ah, well, that's okay. Well, that's another fun topic for another day. Conviction as a salesperson. How do you put it? How do you instill it um, into your sales force? But yeah,
Yeah,
we're
stay
getting a
tuned in
little
the
long
future.
here. Yeah, but at some point, that's going to be a fun one. That's another thing I've been thinking about a lot for 10 years. So we'll see. All right. Well, in the meantime, thank you all for tuning in. I'm Matthew Bergmanson.
I'm Lucas Allen.
This has been the Vigilante Leverage Show, and thank you all for listening. Bye.